Alrighty, folks, welcome back. We are episode 21 of the Unlimited Range podcast. I'm Jack. This is my dad, Dean. And how is retirement treating you?
Retirement's treating me well, Jack. We just Lynn and I closed on a house on Monday, actually. So we going to be spending some time going back and forth between Nashville and Southport, North
And spending a
Carolina.
good amount of time in my garage.
Yeah, I mean, well, we got to shuffle things around, and we're trying to outfit a house in North Carolina without renting a truck and actually doing like a full scale move.
What's your aversion to a truck there?
Like what? Like what's my version of a truck? I mean,
No,
like
what's your aversion to just getting a truck?
oh, aversion. Like what? Why don't I want to rent a truck?
Right.
I don't know. It just seems like a lot of work. So I'm trying to just get some stuff
To
loaded
play
up into
devil's
the
advocate,
SUV.
is it more work to do it the way you're doing it than just load her up one
Well,
time?
we're probably. I mean, we're going to leave a lot of stuff here in what state are we in? Tennessee. We're going to leave a lot of stuff in Tennessee. So I don't really think we have enough to fill up a moving truck. And so anyway, we've got a different plan.
Different plan, taking a different course of action. Yeah.
So we're
I
putting
get
some
that.
stuff in the attic in your garage until we
Yeah,
can
the
figure
problem
out
with
where.
that is it's really no problem. The problem is the dogs want their grandma and grandpa not to be out in the garage, and Winnie cries at the door like a huge baby the entire time.
Well, Winnie. Well, and it's funny, not about Winnie, but and really not about this story. But we actually got the air mattress out, and we blew it up to see if it still held air because it's been sitting in storage and stuff for a while. And we actually have Maggie's cat, who goes by several different names. We'll just call her for this episode Seppi. But Seppi's just jumping around on the air mattress like she's found this new version of a bouncy house. And so for like the last day and a half, she's just been ripping her away on this air mattress and just having a grand old time.
What's having a cat like after not having? Well, I mean, it's not obviously your cat; it's Maggie's cat. But what's
It's
having a
Maggie's
cat
cat.
in the house? What's having a cat in the household like after you've never really had that?
Yeah, well, I think I'm allergic to cats somewhat. So if I touch the cat, I got to make sure I don't touch my eyes. And that would seem to be pretty easy to do, but it's apparently not as easy as it would seem to be. And then Dewey's gotten used to the cat, so that's taken a lot of time. But Dewey's gotten used to the cat. Now the neighbor girl watched Dewey last weekend while we were up in Cincinnati for Trisha Hansman's wedding. Um,
Shout
and
out Trisha
she does
Hansman.
not like the cat. She does not. She does not like. Lexi does not like the cat.
Yeah,
So
I feel like it's probably a little bit of an adjustment to have a cat in the house when you're used to dogs. It's definitely a different experience when like I'm over at your house and Looney's there, and it's definitely weird. Like all of a sudden they just kind of like I watched Looney once, and you just like don't hear her coming, and she just like I think Maggie put that little bell on her, so you
there is
kind
a
of hear her
bell on her
coming.
now, so
And
you
so,
can hear her coming now.
but I think at that
But
time there wasn't a bell, and I just wouldn't hear her coming, and you just and I remember I don't know if I told you this. I think I did probably. Um, Yeah, so we were watching it at our house when Maggie dropped her off, and this was back when I was in Cincinnati, and all of a sudden I couldn't find her, and I was like, "Oh, brother, I hope I didn't just lose Maggie's cat." And I was like, but I was like, the door was never open, and looked all over for her. I was starting to like get anxiety because like this would be really bad if I lost Maggie's cat, and she had like tucked the washer dryer was in this like closet, like this storage closet, and there was like
yeah,
probably 2 inches, probably more, but it seemed like it's a very small gap on either side. And she was all the way in the back, just tucked in there, just like sitting there. And I was like, you almost gave me a heart attack and you're just like jerking around.
yeah.
I think that's how cats do business.
Cats, so like she'll just kind of walk around wherever she wants to, like on kitchen counters and everything else like that. Like, I mean, if that was a dog and it could just hop up on a kitchen counter, it would be terrible. But
I have a question for you.
she's pretty finicky. She doesn't like eating a lot of things, or then she just tears through other things. And but I mean, living with Dewey, who literally eats everything, and I mean everything. that you put in front of him to then go into a cat is like, yeah, I'm probably hungry, but I'm not going to eat that.
I
And
have a
so it's
question.
kind of like,
As you get older, do you find yourself having more of an affinity towards animals?
I like other people's animals.
I think that's
Yeah.
I think it seems like to me you would have never allowed a cat to just like stay at your house 15 years ago.
Well, I mean, a benefit of having a cat is that like you can just leave it and it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's very independent. It just figures things out on its
Well,
own.
you're
It
rationalizing,
doesn't
but
need to go out.
you're rationalizing, but go back to my prior thing about the move. You're averting. I just feel like you would have 15 years ago been like, "There's no way a cat's staying at my house." It seems like are much more okay being in the presence of pets now than you used to be, considering
I
our.
don't want to own any more pets. Dewey's the last one. I'm not. I will watch pets, and that honestly makes them much more enjoyable for me. That I can just send them back. So like we had Ash for an overnight. It was great. It's like, he's in there, he's jumping around, he's sitting on my side of the bed and trying to act like the big kahuna and all that kind of stuff. And then it's like, next day, you're going back. Come
Do
pick him up, he's going back.
do uh do you think dogs especially take on the personality of their owners?
I don't know. I don't necessarily think so.
I
Do
think I
you?
do
I guess
kind
you
of.
do.
No, I don't know. I wouldn't say I do, but I think there's more of a correlation into the type of dogs people get explaining their personality more than the other way around. Like
Yeah, I buy
I think like
that.
when you see somebody, one of those people who's like super active and likes to hike and whatever, and you're not surprised when they have like an Australian Shepherd, uh, or like people like I just like to get big lazy dogs.
Yeah, but your
Or
dog isn't lazy, so I don't know when that's going to kick in for it.
oh,
But your dog's anything
well,
but lazy.
she actually is lazy. She's just so low IQ that I think it comes
I don't
across
know
as
about that.
I think it comes across as it's actually when
Oh, she's like
I will
to
say this,
me.
it's not I think it's one of those things where it's almost like a little kid who gets like really excited to have company over and whatever and they like go crazy. Cause I mean she is crazy a little bit, but when it's just us here, I mean, she sleeps like 19 hours a day. It's basically sleep, get up, run huge circles around the yard, come back in,
So
sleep.
when we come over, she does that all for us coming over.
Yeah, no,
She
it's like
saves up
she's
all her
exhausted.
energy to act
Yeah,
like
yeah, exactly. And
like
she
a
like,
maniac.
yeah, I mean, like when you leave, she just goes to sleep. I
Oh,
mean, it's
okay.
yeah, it's just like I
Somehow we
think
got to figure that out, and just she just does that even when we're there because that would be much more fun.
that is funny. Let's last week I didn't get us
I will
into.
say, I'd say one last thing on the dog thing. I do think people buy dogs for looks and don't really even think about behavior. It's
I
like,
think some people do that. Yeah, I'm gonna
I
follow
mean,
up with one thing, but let's first hit let's hit Dean's unlimited range trivia question of the week for episode. I actually think I might have said 21 at the start of this episode, but this is definitely episode 22.
this is double twos, 22. So I don't have a 22 inspired trivia question, but my trivia question this week is who said, if you cannot explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself?
There's no chance I'm gonna get that one unless I really think about it, but I don't think I've ever heard that quote. Um, first, first thing I thought you were doing was that episode of The Office where Michael says, "Explain it to me like I'm a 6 year old."
And I see that's you've heard this expression. Even on the movie Philadelphia, when Denzel was like, "Explain it to me like I'm 5 years old or whatever."
Yeah.
So a
All
lot
right.
of people
Well,
use this expression. Now you got to tell me who originally coined it.
all right. So for those of you, is this like a quote from a movie or something, or does somebody actually say this?
No, it's an actual person. An
Actual
actual
person doing
person
this.
from the 20th century. It's a 20th century person. I'll give you that much of a hint.
All right, there's your hint. And for the 15, 20, actually, we're in the 20s now in views pretty consistently. I think we can say that now.
Well,
So we can stop saying the 10 or 12 of you that are watching this, and we can more like say like
well, and I
25.
will say this for our international audience, whether it be Canada, New Zealand, anywhere like that.
Greenland.
This is an internationally known person.
So that helps our international audience as well if we're being friendly with the trivia.
This is not an American dominated question. This is an international person who said this.
Okay. All right. So mull that one over, and we will get back to that at the end of the episode. One follow up question, one tiny follow up question that I had, and then we'll get towards the
Okay.
football stuff about our pet conversation because I think it's interesting. Um, do you have a favorite pet you've ever had?
Oh wow, that probably Brady.
You loved her.
Well, I did. She was a great dog. I mean, she chewed up a lot of my stuff when she was a puppy, but and she did eat a couch at one point in time. But the last handful of years, and she was always just went along with the flow, and she was probably the most the best of our dogs there.
Well,
Dewey's a
that's
good dog. I mean, Dewey's a good dog too, but
yeah. I think it's interesting. When you think back, like there's not a ton of memories I have from being like little, but I do remember her. I do remember that when we had her little going away party, and she got
mhm.
like a. Did she get a burger or a steak?
Yeah, I mean, she got like, yeah, I don't know. We were grilling for her. I don't know. She might have had even more than a burger, or maybe she had a hot dog too. I don't know. But we
Yeah,
did have a grill out for her and invited all our friends over to say goodbye because we were going to have to put her down. She was not feeling so good, and yeah, she's like
well, that one,
14 years old.
I remember. That's about. She made it a long time. She made it like 13, 14 years, and she was kind of a
Yeah, she
bigger
was mixed
dog.
with a Dalmatian too. For our audience out there, she was part Rottweiler, part Dalmatian, and part something else. I can't remember what it
You think
was,
we could
but
figure out a way to like put a picture on there for everybody?
I don't know if I can. You're stretching my technology, the producer's technology here, but
Executive producer.
yeah, executive producer. I might see if I can find a picture and somehow I could probably put it on. I was thinking about putting Luna on her bouncy house as the clip represent or
The clip.
the picture representing the clip, but maybe I'll find a picture of Brady.
Yeah, it's probably we'll save it for another episode, but we could go into the story of Memphis the dog at some point.
Oh gosh, what was it with the hero? So
Was
I
it
mean, we
Mariah
should
Carey?
probably just tell the story. Like when Jack was like 14 years old, he was dead set on getting another dog, which actually became Dewey. But he would watch
No,
these.
no, it became Shelby.
No, I think it was
No,
after that.
it was before because you went, and that's a good follow up too. When when Brady, when we had to put Brady down, were you for a time thinking like I could get away with not getting another pet at all?
Oh well, that was supposed to be the deal, and that was supposed to be the deal. The deal was supposed to be that was our last pet for the foreseeable future.
But then the PowerPoint presentations came out, and
And I don't know. Somehow, Lynn from over at church heaped another animal on us somehow. Like we're a bunch of suckers. We almost had a
no,
sign
no,
on
no,
just drop off your unwanted pets at
no.
our house
I don't think
because
we're suckers. I think that one falls squarely on mom's shoulders. Somebody
I don't
giving
know
away.
what she's bringing that crazy dog home. Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
it's a really nice dog. It's just da, da, da. Yeah. Shelby was crazy, crazy.
Shelby is an interesting one because I equal parts appreciate her and equal parts it's an experience I've never had with a dog before where and that's what I was saying earlier about how I think it's important that you pick a dog that shares like you the traits that you would like because I don't think there was any connecting with that dog at all. She was just
No,
like go 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 like her brain was just wired to just
yeah.
go. I
So she
remember the
was
first
part blue healer for our audience, and then the other part was Tasmanian devil. I think. For those, I mean, people would be out in the front yard and they'd be playing some game or something, and she'd be throwing the ball. Used to hit it with a tennis racket, take a tennis ball and hit it with a tennis racket. It went down like three different, you know, down the block by three different houses. She would do that for like a couple hours at a time and chase the ball. Like I don't know how she just didn't just keel over dead.
And
She'd
let
run
me
away
ask you
from
this:
home for a day at a time, and just show up the next day. It was that dog was
a
just
strange
in a world.
experience.
It was a
Yeah,
world of its own.
not your favorite dog, obviously, but do you have respect for the way she did her business?
Yeah, I don't know where she would have been at home at. Like, I don't know where she would have fit in. I think, you know, um, you know, she was really smart. She just couldn't. I mean, we were just there for food
And
and
throwing
for
tennis
somebody to
balls.
actually try to throw something around or whatever. But yeah, like um, anyway, it was. We've had some interesting pets. Um,
We were a guinea pig household for we were a guinea
we
pig
had a
household
couple
there for
guinea
a couple.
pigs. Thanks to Lynn on a couple of those, and Beth Steffen for another one. And yeah, don't ever bring up the Scotch incident.
No, I think you're talking about Sydney.
Oh, was that Sydney?
Sydney was the
Scotch
one that.
was Scotch the mean one? Which one was the mean
No,
one?
so the order of operations is we
Was it
had
hot
Sydney.
cocoa? What was the
I
name? There
don't
was
know what ever happened. Honestly, I don't know the story about Sydney the first time because that was just we just went out and got a guinea pig. I'm not really sure why.
no. I
Um,
think that was dropped off again by
no, no,
Lynn
no,
Barton.
no. The first one was a pet store guinea pig. That was Sydney, and then she ended up being like the world's best guinea pig ever, and we thought it was awesome. So we just assumed all guinea pigs were like that.
Yeah,
That's the incident that we won't speak of because we have a someone who it still
yeah. It's put under wraps
burns.
unless Trump comes in with a Freedom of Information Act
We'll keep that one under
stipulation.
wraps because there's a
It,
sad ending to that story that still 20 years later burns in the mind of somebody who listens to this podcast. And then it was Scotch. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't good. He just was kind of like whatever. And
one of
then
them was kind of mean, right?
no, I'm
Was
getting
that the
to it.
one that
I'm
was?
getting to it.
Oh,
Then we said we would take Beth Steffen. Shout out Beth Steffen. She had the class pet and we said and she like was said I'll get this guinea pig for my class if someone could watch it like when school is not in because whatever. So we watched that one for a short period of time, like 2 months. Then that's when she really stuck her foot in her mouth. She told one of the neighbors
ah,
she was bragging about how great guinea pigs are, and she convinced a classmate of mine mother that it she should get her daughter a guinea pig and put the old classic, if you don't like it, we'll take it.
we'll take the
Uh,
money back guarantee. You
yeah,
got
we
a you
should
got a
get
money
her.
back guarantee.
So these people went out and bought a guinea pig that absolutely
They
sucked.
they picked like the nastiest one.
It's the
What was it like
nastiest
that
guinea
move?
pig. His name was Copper, and
Oh,
that
God.
that's when I think it. That's when I think the guinea pig thing died. After
I
that,
mean, he probably didn't like the name. I mean, who names a guinea pig Copper? By the way, like after we had Scotch and Sydney, I don't know. We should probably
yeah, I don't know where it's sitting. So yeah, then I think at the same time I was dealing with the whole hamster thing, and that hamster was from hell. So I
yeah
think that's when, so I think that's when the rodent thing went out the window at our household.
yeah. Copper was. I don't remember what happened to Copper.
Do you remember what
Did
happened
he
with
go
my
somewhere
guinea pig,
else?
or do you remember what happened with my hamster though? This is like classic
Yeah,
hamster
I
from what I've
remember.
heard.
Yeah,
Is so for my birthday one year, I really wanted a hamster, so we went to the pet store and whatever else. And this hamster curled right up in my dad's hand, went to sleep the entire time. He was really cute. He was fuzzy, and we were like, "This
he's
is a
probably
no brainer."
tired from being up all night.
Yeah, it's a no brainer. Turns out it was a complete con job, and this hamster just could not be contained. This guy got out of. I mean, it was like a supermax prison, and he still managed a way to get out. And then what would he do? He got into the wall and started chewing up the entire wall.
He's well, chewing up carpet. He'd go and you'd find him just down the hall in the back of a closet somewhere because, yeah, apparently since they're nocturnal, he spent probably much all night long trying to get out of his cage. I don't know how he got out. Like it looked like it was like sealed up, but he'd get out of there. I don't
You'd
know.
get out of there, and you
That
couldn't
was
find him.
he was an escape artist. He was like Harry Houdini.
So
We
yeah,
should have named him Houdini.
so that's the story of our non canine pets and how we haven't had much luck with that. Let's segue here. It's not a natural segue, but let's segue over to our picks of the week. And my pick last week was I took the Eagles to cover, I believe, minus 4.5. They ended up doing that, and it was, I think, 16 points. Washington scored at the end, and I think got the 2-point conversion. So I believe it ended up being an 8-point game. So I covered there, and remind the folks what you had.
I had Baltimore -3 at Pittsburgh, and the Baltimore did cover. They ended up losing by 2, and
Wait, did you have them +3 or -3? Because if you had them as the favorite, then you would have lost.
it was -3.
Well, they lost then.
Oh, yeah, they lost. So thanks for. I
Right
see.
in the
That's why I don't bet. Right there is why I don't bet, because I have a hard
No,
time
I
with
mean
this
I
whole
think that was a good pick
plus
because
minus.
I really can't believe they lost that game. I think the Steelers are. I wouldn't call them fraudulent. I just think they're one of those teams that's better than average, but not very good. But Baltimore seems to have a few of those a year where you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think they're 2 games down the loss column now in that division, and yeah. So I mean, I will go on to say my limited range performers of the weekend have to be all the field goal kickers that were just seem to be missing kicks left and right, literally, and sometimes short. And then even Aubrey missed one on Monday night, and Justin Tucker missing a couple. And it seemed like every game I was watching, somebody was shanking kicks. I think that Tyler Bass missed something in the Bills game. Some of these were like, he missed an extra point, I think. It was, if you were a field goal kicker over the weekend, Jake Elliott was missing a bunch of them, right? That was Thursday night.
Yeah,
He
he missed
missed
two, I believe, right?
2 and maybe even an extra point, right? I think
Yeah, he
so.
did miss an
It was a
extra point as well.
horrible weekend for kickers. I don't know what was in the water. I think it's kind of nice because it makes it a little bit more. I mean, I think we've gotten used to field goal kickers just hitting everything up until 60 some yards. It wasn't last weekend.
My limited range, I don't have an unlimited range performance. I said to you before, I usually watch every minute of every game over the weekend, but we did have shout out Trish the Dish. She got married this weekend, so it was a great weekend with Trish the Dish and her new husband David. So that was a blast. We got to see some old friends and such. Um, we went up on Saturday, so I missed virtually all of college football, and then got a late start on Sunday. Got back about an hour or so into the games, and I was just tired, and the Eagles weren't playing, so I went to sleep. So I didn't get to catch as much as I'd like to, but my limited range performance of the week is I took a huge swing before the season on the Bears in fantasy because I thought they were undervalued.
Ooh.
And DJ Moore apparently has decided he's just going to quit on Caleb Williams, and that has affected their entire offense. And now I'm stuck with two guys that I have to start every week, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, who can't do nothing. And it has caused me to go into a 3 or 4 game skid here. Luckily, I beat Jared this week, but he is the worst team in the league. So that's not beating the worst team in the league by 7 points is not exactly what I would like to be known for. So my unlimited range is the Bears sucking and coming into this season with the exact same coach and mostly the same coaching staff that they couldn't get it done with last year.
Yeah, I don't know how Matt Eberflus makes it through the season. The Wisconsin football team, the college football team just canned their offensive coordinator in the middle of the season. I don't know how he's gone, and somehow Matt Eberflus on a paid, a team that's professional team is he's terrible. Anyway,
Yeah,
my
I did.
segue.
Oh yeah,
Go ahead.
segue. Now go ahead and segue.
No, I was going to segue. Like, my unlimited range performer of the week is actually going to go to a non football thing. I was watching the CMAs last night, and Chris Stapleton did a really. I mean, I don't know how many awards he won, but he kind of cleaned up on a lot of these awards, and good for him. He's been around for a while. He seems like one of the nicest guys in the
In the
entertainment
business.
industry. Loves his wife, and both acceptance speeches talked about how influential she is for him and his, I just, yeah, I said to your mom, maybe I'll go buy a couple of, I don't own any country albums, I know this first album was really great. I might just go buy one or two Chris Stapleton albums and just to I think the world of him.
Yeah, me and Nano were talking a lot about music over the last over the drive back to Cincinnati. Um, yeah, he's one of those guys. I think I think we may have talked about this on the podcast before. I think I like all kinds of music, um, even stuff I don't really like. Like one time I went to a metal show because my friends down here asked me to go, and I was like, can't hurt. And I feel like I'm pretty open to all types of music, but there is something about um, pure vocalists, especially as they're going away. And not that he can't do other things. I know he's a musician and all that stuff, but there's something about like a voice like that is still like probably my favorite thing. I think it's incredible there's something that it does to you when you listen to somebody like him or somebody like Adele, somebody with just a super powerful voice where it's just like this experience where you're like, how is there somebody on earth this talented? Like
Mm.
how can somebody just be able to do, because there's obviously a level to it where there's obviously people who are great singers, but then there's people like them where it's like you were born with whatever this is. Like you can't just you didn't manufacture this. You obviously practiced and you obviously worked on your craft, but that's not where this comes from. Um and I find that super cool. We were talking about Stevie Wonder. I came back up on Stevie last couple weeks, and we used to listen to him all the time when I was a kid. That's my one gripe. That's my limited range gripe of the week. Is that on like Spotify and stuff, it has a tendency to just keep like shuffling music back to you that
Mm.
like you've been listening to lately, and it's just kind of like a I don't know, like echo chamber type thing. Like if you listen to a song, it'll just keep giving it to you until you skip it enough times and it'll go away. So that'll happen to me from time to time where I'll all of a sudden something will come in my playlist that I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't heard this in 10 years or whatever. And it's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the point about singer songwriters, I think, I was telling Maggie, like Sunday morning, I can't. Uh, the first thing I'll pull off my shelf is James Taylor's greatest hits. It's like one of the most relaxed singer songwriter albums that I own, and it's great for Sunday morning vibes. But you're right about Spotify. I've complained about their algorithm to people before because I just think it keeps, like you said, it keeps going back to certain
Yeah.
songs,
Just
or
filters them
it
back
doesn't
through.
understand. Like I had a playlist set up with like two or three different artists, and then you put in the smart shuffle recommendations or whatever, and it starts playing stuff not related really to those three
Yeah.
artists. And you're like, why is it playing this? Like Pandora had a lot of issues, but the one thing I thought was great about it was that you would listen to that and it would give you really great recommendations.
Yeah.
It would slide songs in there that you hadn't been listening to. I think that's the whole point of the algorithm, isn't it? It's supposed to
Yeah.
be.
Hey, look, Spotify. If you guys are watching this, if you guys have found your way to the Limited Range Podcast, episode 22, you guys got to do better with your algorithm
Yeah, I
because
agree.
we're not afraid to badmouth you in the street.
No, I would like to I would like to listen to more country music, and but yeah, on Spotify it kind of rolls back to songs that I've listened to before or something else like that, and
Yeah, it's kind of tough. It's
yeah,
definitely not a great system. I think overall, I think it's a good platform and everything else. But yeah, they need to be better about allowing you to hear some of the songs you like and you've listened to, but also curate your recommendations so there's actually stuff you want. Because sometimes I'll get just bullshit on the recommendations. Like they will recommend me
yeah,
something that's out of my thing, but it's garbage. And I'm
yeah.
like, no offense, but this is not what I'm trying to do here, guys.
I will say this: I did order tickets this week to Ben Rector. I don't know
You're
how
a big Ben
much you know
Rector
about
guy for
that.
sure.
I do like Ben Rector. I just think he's just unique and talented. I think he doesn't have a voice like a Chris Stapleton, but I just think I love his music. I love his genuineness when he writes stuff, and so he is doing a tour. It's not till next. I think it's not till next October. I think he's playing like a small venue that they're opening up down here in Nashville.
Another
So I got
throwback that we
some
came
tickets for
across
that.
in our drive that I was nostalgic in a way is like not really on board with what they've been doing lately or whatever. But that old version of Maroon 5, the real like the mid 2000s version of Maroon 5 is one of my favorite things. Adam Levine is just especially back then before they went like pop when
Yeah.
I was more like I don't know if you'd call it alternative. The old version of Adam Levine when they first started was like crazy. He just has that's another part. It's like not there's the Chris Stapleton part and those people who are true awesome vocalists, and then there's like Adam Levine just had such a unique sound at that time. That one
Yeah.
album, what's the album called? Songs About Love or something?
Yeah. Songs about Jane.
Songs About Jane.
Yeah, that's the first one. I listened to a ton, and the second one was good. It wasn't as good as the first one, but then the third one I think was probably the last. I think that's the one with um, moves like Jagger and stuff. I think that was
My
probably the
probably
last album
overall
that was.
say overall I would probably say the albums that stick out the most to me is probably that John Mayer Continuum album, um, and that Maroon 5 album from when I was a kid, the ones that are the most memorable. I thought those were both really awesome. John Mayer used to
Yeah,
be awesome.
I mean, that'd be worthwhile to put some stuff together like that. I mean, I think albums that I listen to, that's good. The original Magic Dragons, their initial release was one of my favorite albums.
WeChat.
Of recent vintage. Um,
Remember
20.
the guy on WeChat?
No, what was that?
Oh brother. We'll have to probably tell that story or bring Jared on to tell it maybe. We went to that Imagine Dragons show and there was some guy who was like he had something called WeChat, which I think is like a messaging
Oh,
service, and he was sitting there and he was just like this guy didn't look up from his seat the entire time. He was just
yeah,
texting like
okay.
he was just texting, and then he would like he'd like sit up and take a picture, take like 5 pictures, take a video. This guy just didn't. This guy wasn't looking. This guy was looking at his screen the entire concert, and Jared just thought it was hilarious. Another
It
thing,
was a
Jared,
great concert. Yeah.
before we'll segue to our closing trivia, I'll tell. Did you catch my bit that I did at the wedding with Jared that was making?
Which bit was that? I
Well,
probably didn't.
the overall bit is that I like to do things to try to get Jared to like laugh or whatever, and then he gets on and he just gets uncomfortable, and everybody starts looking at him. So when the dish was up there, and they don't usually do it anymore. I think they've stopped it at weddings, but they asked if anybody
Has
has an
any?
objection.
Yeah.
They started tapping Jared. And he started cracking up, and everybody started turning around and looking at him.
My gosh.
So yeah, that's the bit of the week. That's the unlimited range bit of the week. Maybe we'll start to incorporate that a little bit more. A
All
running
right.
bit. But
Yeah,
yeah, let's
I
segue.
don't have too many bits, so that'll probably be predominantly your section of the podcast.
Well, you have trivia, so maybe I could take the bit
Oh,
section.
yeah, you can do some kind of a funny bit.
Yeah, guys, if you are interested in that at all and you're still around here at this point, leave a comment below. If you comment, you will be our first comment. We will remember that if we ever hit it big, because I don't think we have any comments yet, and we would like
I haven't
some.
found Scar's comment, so wherever he left it, it's still sitting there in the dark somewhere.
Yeah, Scar, if you're watching this, you said you were leaving a comment. We haven't seen it, buddy. So get to it. Let's close it out here with the answer to the trivia question of the week, and go ahead and give us that trivia
The
question one more
question
time.
is, who said if you cannot explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself?
Unfortunately for me, 20th century is not nearly enough of a hint. For
He did
me,
win a Nobel. It's a he, and he did win a Nobel Prize at one point. He was
this
an
is just a total.
astrophysicist, I
I'm
think.
thinking, are you talking about Einstein?
I am talking about Einstein. Albert Einstein would be the answer to this week's trivia question.
Yeah, I
Interesting
think
guy.
isn't he known as being like a smart guy, but also like a humble guy?
Yeah, he didn't. One of the things I always loved about Albert Einstein was he didn't like writing things down. He didn't remember things that he could look up. So, like, if you would have asked him what his address was or things like that, he wouldn't know because he'd have to go look it up. So he couldn't be bothered to fill his
Had to keep
mind with trivial things. So like this whole trivia thing that we do would probably not be Albert Einstein's
wouldn't
thing.
be his MO to be doing
No.
trivia because if he can't write it down, he doesn't need it. I actually respect that mindset a lot. Some people would say that that's crazy, but I think it is interesting when you see a guy as smart as he is and everything else like that. You can kind of got to compartmentalize and just focus in.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
But
Well,
that's it.
this was a perfect episode. We got a lot of talked about some pets, talked about music. Please, guys, please feel free to subscribe to our channel. Please, we're waiting for our first comment. Uh, Thanks to all our international viewers, Canada, New Zealand, Austria. Are we? Do we still check the website to see if we're getting hits?
I don't. I haven't looked at it this week, but I'll look at it next week, and we'll give an update on what kind of
We'll give an
folks are
update on
coming
our
to look
kind
at.
of our geographic kind of data there. But we do appreciate all the viewers that we get, and this was a great episode. And we will see you guys back here next week.
Take it easy.
All right, guys.